السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي واجعل لي وزيرا من أهلي هارون أخي اشدد به أزري ويشرك في أمري كي نسبحك كثيرا ونذكرك كثيرا إنك كنت بنا بصيرا. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وارنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وارنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه وصل اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم. رب لا تذرني فردا وأنت خير الوارثين. رب اجعلني مقيم الصلاة ومن ذريتي ربنا وتقبل دعاء. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. ربنا آتنا من لدنك رحمة وهيئ لنا من أمرنا رشدا. ربنا اغفر لنا وارحمنا وأنت خير الراحمين. آمين والحمد لله رب العالمين. آمين. Hoş geldin everybody. Welcome everyone. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Today we are going to really start the second flash, the story of uh, the Prophet Job in the Quran. What we are going to study only one verse related to the narration of the or story of the Prophet Jonah, for not that, for the sake of studying the story of the Prophet Job, I'm sorry, Job, in the Quran, but for completely different purpose, to see how we can benefit from the stories mentioned about the lives of the experiences of the prophets in the Quran. So last week we wanted to summarize what we studied from the story of Jonah in the first flash, in a section of a book which is called The Flash. And it took all our discussion. And this week, we were expected to present the summary of what we have discussed last week. And this presentation was supposed to be presented to us by our friend Anne, but today she won't be able to make it, but promised next week she will do it. So I don't want to go over because I will leave this to our friend Anne. So today we will just start the second flash, the story of Job in the Quran. First, we have to remember, maybe some people come from Christian background or Jewish background. They are familiar with the story of Job in Torah. And as far as I read and understood and remembers, it was long ago I studied about it. And the story of the prophet Job in Torah is presented in a way that not really we can benefit from it. Uh, Not why? Because we will see how the Quran deals with the subject and how Quran really infers the meaning to us without giving much detailed explanation, which is important, without giving much detailed explanation, because the method of the Quran is not to narrate the story of the prophet, but the method of the Quran is to get the ethical message from it and guide us. So the ethical message cannot be presented in a concrete way. It must be in an abstract way so that everybody will be able to interpret this message according to the need and conditions of his or her situation. So Quran mentions the main points which can be interpreted uh, by everyone according to his condition. That is the purpose of the Quran. Some people may feel uncomfortable about it because saying that, oh, everybody can interpret anything in the Quran, because this is an moral uh, advice dealing with ethical problems, spiritual problems. So spiritual problems cannot be stated one, two, three, four stages. It must be presented in such a way that the people can digest it, take it to himself or herself. But the story of Job in Torah gives, of course, it is interesting that the story of Job has some interpretations presented, as far as I understand, in an argument form. Back and forth, back and forth. Uh, we are not going to compare how Torah did and how Quran did. But my point is, by mentioning the narration of the story of Job in Torah, the Quran's conciseness and not mentioning the events in between, just what uh, the reader can benefit from it, if you like, the pieces of sceneries in the Quran narrated, so that we can benefit from this scenery and interpret it according to my needs, according to my capacity. So, in order to introduce the subject as it is presented in the Quran, I just jotted down some sentences here. I would like to read it and go to the text to study. I am starting to read my note. This is my note. If we suffer from any physical pain, what kind of understanding and attitude are we expected to have? The answer is studied in this section. Physical pain, bodily pain, very human. But in the story of Jonah, it was spiritual problems described in a physical form. But here is a real bodily illness is going to be mentioned, which is very human experience, actually. The prophet Jonah's example was about our spiritual pain and the solution for it. This is an example presented to us in the form of physical pain, and the solution for it. Now, solution doesn't mean that the author of the section is going to write a prescription to take this medicine, this medicine. No, the real solution, human solution, that is something to do with the physicians, the doctors. But this person is a spiritual mentor, so he will give us the guidance how we can deal with this kind of problems within our spiritual life. Which kind of attitude I should have, which kind of understanding and interpretation I should have, and benefit from this illness. Which is interesting sentence, isn't it? Benefiting from the illness. Oh, come on. I just wanted to get rid of it, cure it. But we can benefit spiritually. We will see how. The Quran speaks to us in a figurative way, demonstrating the message in its physical form so that everyone can easily grasp the meaning and apply it to its own spiritual world. Using analogies, it gives the opportunity to the readers to interpret these analogies according to their problems at their level. Quran doesn't speak like a law book, rather like a constitution. Always general principles of our understanding the reality of our existence presented in the Quran. It is we who will write the law book for ourselves only. Apply it to myself. The other person will write a law book for themselves. But we will give the guidance as we are going to read it in the text. The codes related to the physical practice of prescribed personal worship and social relationship. We understand codes related to the physical practice of prescribed personal worship, which means we all know that the prayer, fasting, going on Hajj, giving to zakat, charity. This kind of activities, it is prescribed worship activities and social relationships. Now, how are we going to have a social life according to Islamic rules, which is called Sharia? So Islamic Sharia, how are we going to have our social life? In a believer's society, of course, Sharia law is to be practiced only in the believer's society. We cannot take the Sharia laws, Islamic principles, and compare it with the conditions of a non-Muslim world, non-Muslim civilization, and say that this Sharia rule doesn't apply it or doesn't benefit. That is a just missed location. That would be a missed location. So this when we say that the Quran is a book which is like constitution, gives the general directions. And of course, everybody will write his own law book, practical to himself, is related to spiritual, moral, ethical matters, not related to prescribed practices of worship, like prayer, fasting. So let me read the sentence. The codes related to the physical practice of prescribed personal worship and social relationships in a believer society are another category that we don't deal with here. They are called jurisprudential rules. They are, and some people codifications. We don't study that. We study human behavior, human morality, spiritual attitude, understanding of reality, of existence, understanding of reality of life, reality of spiritual, human spirit, and reality of the creation of this world. So that is our interest. Fıkıh needs a speciality. It needs speciality. Some people choose to study it. They can study it, so they can understand these rules, uh, prescribed prayers, and social conducts, social relationships. So that is another speciality. It is not our speciality here. That is why we say that the Quran always presents in the form of constitution as far as our subject is concerned, which makes 95% of the Quran, by the way. The other other uh, codifications, prescribed prayers and social relationships can make only at the most 5% of the Quran. It doesn't mean that they are not important. Of course, everything is in the Quran, in God's prescriptions, guidance is extremely important. But we have to know which part is the most essential part. Accordingly, we will benefit from the Quran. So, we are starting, inshallah. Unfortunately, our moderator Anne is not here, so I have to read it. The second flag, or why should I have to read it? I can ask somebody to read it, anyone actually. Anyone volunteering to read the text paragraph by paragraph? No volunteer? Come on, it's the charity month. Be generous.
Okay, inshallah, Bismillah, I can do that.
Please go ahead.
Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, the merciful, the compassionate. When he called upon his Lord,
Uh,
oh,
uh,
Danada Rabbahu anni masani durru wa anta arhamar rahimin, which is the verse from Quran, section 21, verse 83, translated as, when he called upon his Lord, saying, verily harm has afflicted me, and you are the most merciful of the merciful. Vaskur abdana ayuba idha nada rabbahu anni masanya shaitanu binus bi wa adab.
أني إذ
Anni
نادى
masanya
ربه أني مسني الشيطان بنصب وعذاب.
wa adab. And remember our servant Job when he cried out to his Lord, Satan has afflicted me with distress and suffering, which is also from the Quran in section Sa'd, section 38, verse 41. So the same word masaniya is used. One is dur, one is masina shaitan. Harm has afflicted me, and then here Satan has afflicted me with distress and suffering. Patience is both, is there something missing before this? Patience is both well tested and effective. Drawing on the verse, we should say in our supplication, Rabbi anni masniya durru wa antar arhamar rahimin. O my Lord and Sustainer, indeed harm has afflicted me, and you are the most merciful of the merciful. The gist of the well-known story of Job, upon whom be peace, is as follows.
Yeah. Thank you. Would you like to share something that it attracted your attention in the text? Yes, I don't have the book with me,
I
unfortunately.
feel like something was missing, yes, before the patient.
I think it is. I
Yeah.
think it is.
But what attracted me, the verses you shared, basically the two verses with
Now,
using the same
while
word.
you are doing this, I am with you, and at the same time, I would like to check what is missing here. All right.
Flashes, second flash. Yeah.
Mm. Now this one is missing.
Yeah, the supplication, the champion of patience. Okay.
Where was it started? Patience.
Patience, yeah, we start from patience, yeah.
Okay, I will copy and paste it so that it will make sense.
Right. So patience we see below.
Oh, it's here,
Oh, the champion of,
patient, but
oh,
it's
the in the name
another
of God,
patient.
the merciful, the compassionate kind of,
Patient is well tested, affected.
yeah. I see what happened. You see
No,
where it says off, it says in the name of God, the merciful, the compassionate. That should go up above the,
I see something of
yeah.
here. Uh,
Yeah, I think it's just a cut and paste.
all of them. Oh, this is here. Here it is. All right. Okay. This part is missing. No.
No, it's okay, brother Ali. I think we understand.
Uh, so, patient um, champion of must be. Oh, it's not going there. I don't know. I confused everything. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Yeah,
But we can read it from here.
correct. Yes. Yep. So the supplication of Job, upon whom be peace, the champion of patience, is both well tested and effective. And drawing on the words, we should say in our supplication, O my Lord and Sustainer, indeed harm has afflicted me, and you are the most merciful of the merciful. But then you added those two verses. And
Yeah.
the addition was about from section Sod 38 and verse 41.
No, yeah. That English didn't have it.
Correct.
Mhm.
Yeah, because in the first one, we don't know exactly what kind of harm has afflicted me, but here it kind of clarifies a little more that Satan has afflicted me with distress and suffering. So it's more, there's also that wrongful understanding of satanic perspective that is being affecting one's condition.
think. Now, your comment, please. Sorry for this mess.
Yeah, my only comment was based on the verses that you have here on the screen, and particularly the second one from Saad, section Saad.
Hmm. Inshallah, we will talk about it.
And also, why should I be saying this supplication as well? Do I need this supplication? That's also a good question to ask ourselves.
Yeah, we will ask this question as well. I think, inshallah, it's okay now. Inshallah, we will go talk about it while we are studying the text. Okay. Now, the supplication of Job, the champion of, okay, confused, another confused. No, I think we should take it out.
Yes,
Now,
understood.
the uh, in the name of God, the merciful, the compassionate, إذ نادى ربه أني مسني الضر وأنت أرحم الراحمين. Now, let's read this text now. The supplication of Job, upon whom be peace, the champion of patience, is both well tested and effected. Now, well tested, we will test in ourselves and see how effective it is as we are going through reading the text. Now, the verse says, when he called upon his Lord, saying, verily harm, definitely harm, has afflicted me. Indeed, or really, harm has afflicted me, and you, O God, are the most merciful of the merciful. Let's analyze it, this verse. First of all, when he called upon his Lord, it is the typical way of Quranic teaching. We have to know it. Many prophetic narrations are accompanied with a kind of prayer presented to God. And Quran speaks in human language. Now, of course, it's God's word, but speaks to human beings as they understand in their own languages. So originally Arabic, but it doesn't. It means that this is Arabic is a spoken language by human beings. So it could have been English, depending on the group of people where the prophet was sent. Every prophet was sent their message with the language of the people they were appointed. So that is, we understand that that happened in a context that this revelation was revealed to a community and appointed a prophet from among this community, not a stranger, from among this community in their own language, so that they shouldn't have an excuse. We don't understand you. We don't know you, who you are. So they will see it, physically experience it. That is the wisdom of God when he appoints the prophets. So no one we should feel alien to the message. So when the Quran speaks, the Quran says The prophet called upon, prayed to God. Idnada Rabbehu. He called upon his Lord, saying, this now, any messenger, verily or definitely harm has afflicted me. Look, I am suffering from a physical problem. So you are the most merciful of the merciful. What does it mean? Now, he's not saying you are the best doctor. Give me the prescription. But the prophet is presented to us when we have a physical problem, we have to have a connection with the one who creates the physical problem. Who is the creator? Who can be the creator of the physical problem? The creator of everything in the world and creator of the universe. Of course, whoever created me is the creator of the universe because he put me within the context of the universe. I know that I cannot exist by myself individually within the universe itself. So we understand that whatever exists in my being, even in my environment, in the universe, is or can exist only according to the will of its creator within the context of the universe. We cannot say that the things are coming into being by themselves. For example, what let's say a, a sheep is growing by itself. So it is growing within the conditions of its environment. This environment is as large as galaxies. So the atmosphere, water, clouds, everything grows, the plants grows in the world, and everything, and also creation of it is parents, if you like. So we cannot isolate it. When we cannot study the life of a sheep in an isolation from its connections, and this connections or atmosphere goes into the relationship with its solar system. Solar system has its own relationship with its uh, galaxy, whatever the galaxy belongs to it. Doesn't matter. So we understand that illnesses are created by the one who creates my body. But if one says, I exist by accident, of course, this person has to say my illness happened by accident or according to physical laws. So physical laws decided to make me have this problem for some ways of explanation. We are not interested in those kind of speculative interpretations, but we understand that the universe needs a creator. So when the Quran mentions that the prophets are praying, it doesn't mean that just prayed, it said something. No, that is the key point now. They are acknowledging the reality of this existence, presented to us in the Quran in the form of prayer. Prayer means, in fact, getting in touch with the creator of anything that we are experiencing, illness or health, whatever it is. So prayer means communicating with my creator. So communicating with my prayer has in its essence prayer. That is what prayer is, communicating with my creator. So Quran presents it in the form of prayer, but it means how we should understand and deal with the problem, whatever, or the problem of happiness, in my understanding, in my mind, in my consciousness. How should I perceive it? But of course, when it comes to practice, I understand with my intellect. And I realize what I understood is true or not through my consciousness, which is called consciousness, whatever it is. That is why my my quality, that's how I am created. I am aware of what is right, what is wrong. I can choose. So in my consciousness, I realize whether it's true or not. In my intellect, I analyze it and come to or reach a conclusion. And then physically act. Now, while I interact, I need to acknowledge the creator of my illness as related to our subject. Uh, Acknowledging my illness, I I need to communicate with its creator. When I communicate with the creator, whatever I understood from this creation, I put it in the verbal form. This verbal form, this verbal expression is presented to us in the Quran in the form of prayer, because this is a communication with the creator. So what we are talking about here is not only related to this verse, is related to every story mentioned about any prophet or any prophetic or leading figures that presented to us. That is why some people say this is not a prophet, this is a prophet. Doesn't matter. For example, Mary is presented in this way. Moses' mother is presented in this way. Uh, Abraham's father is presented in this way, in a negative way. And Noah's Noah's son is presented in this way, representing bad or good figures. Abu Lahab is presented in this way, in a negative form. Let me try. Yeah, Prophet Joseph's brothers are presented in this way. So they don't have to be. Oh, Queen of Sheba is presented in this way. These are not prophetic figures, but the positive or negative, some exemplary figures. Prophetic narrations also examples to teach us how we are going to deal with our spiritual problems. Sometimes in our examples of or samples of physical problems, not only spiritual problems as well. If you study this story of Job in the Quran, you will see that it is hinting some physical solutions for the problems we have, especially health problems in particular to the story of Job. So we should not misunderstand that we shouldn't use the words mentioned in the Quran as it is here, said that definitely harm has afflicted me, and you are the most merciful of the merciful. Or in the original Quranic language, إِنِّي مَسَّنِيَ الضُّرُّ وَأَنْتَ أَرْحَمُ الرَّاحِمِينَ. Now, My mind understands. My consciousness acknowledges. My body practices. My tongue utters it, speaks, says. So, as a whole human being, we present our reality to our Creator. So, communicate with the Creator in verbal form, in physical relationship with what He has created, and understanding and consciously being aware what am I doing, what I am doing, and spiritually feel it within yourself that this whole human being is functioning. So every prayer presented in the Quran through prophetic examples or otherwise not prophetic but other examples are given in the Quran must be understood in within these principles that we have taught. That is one main subject related to everything mentioned in the Quran in the form of or relating to the prayers. Now, how about these two verses in the Quran? One of them is in section Anbiya, 21st section of the Quran, verse 83. We notice that here it says, harm has afflicted me, at-tur, mesenia tur. But narrating this same event, almost the same language of prayer form, we understand what prayer form is. Now, we talked about it here. Enni messeni şeytan. What is the significance of it? The one says, harm definitely afflicted me, but giving reference to the same event, the Quran changes the language according to they are different verses mentioned in different sections of the Quran according to the context of their own position. So, in this context, the first verse's context, harm afflicted me. In the second verse's context, the word is replaced with not harm, but Satan. What is the wisdom of it? Because we know that the Quran must be understood with its own general context, what the whole Quran is aiming to teach me. None of the verses of the Quran can be understood by taking it out and reading it as you are reading a sentence from a novel or from a law book, and a sentence there, and understand it. Impossible. This verse must be understood within the context of the book where it was. For example, can you get a sentence from a medical book, for example, and put it into a geography book or law book and try to make sense of it? Does it can you really get what it means? Impossible. Because this sentence makes sense within a medical book. When you take it out, it doesn't make anything, doesn't make sense anything. So when you take one verse from the Quran and put it in another context, for example, and non-believer society's context and apply it there. It is irrelevant because Quran can be applied within its believers, but Quran addresses, don't, we shouldn't confuse. Quran addresses whole human being, but addresses whole human being, everyone within its own context says every sentence, which is called verse, ayah, every verse of the Quran, every ayah of the Quran must be understood within the context of the Quran if you want to benefit from it. Whoever reads it, believers or non-believers, everybody is expected to read the verses of the Quran within the context of the Quran and then try to make sense of it. Taking out of its context, which is the Quran, and saying that Quran says kill everyone. And where? In America. All believers kill everyone in America. Now, what is it to do with it? But this context makes sense in the Quran where it is related. And this related, for example, kill everyone who attacks you in a battlefield. That is the context. And battlefield is described within the context of the whole Quran. Now, you cannot describe battlefield as there is a war in between two nations now. Irrelevant. Irrelevant. So that is one essential principle in reading the Quran. Another essential principle in reading the Quran is we can not isolate a verse from another verse completely just because contexts are different. So it is the principle of understanding the Quran. Every verse is a support in understanding of other verses. As much as possible, as much as you are aware of it. So we say here, while we are reading the first verse, where definitely harm has afflicted me. Which harm? Which kind of harm are you talking? In other words, and mentions the same story, says definitely Satan has afflicted me. Ah, understand. Dar, sorry, in Arabic, dar. Harm, as it is translated. Harming thing. Afflicted me, in fact, the other words comes to our help. In fact, as I described it as harm, as Prophet Job in his exemplary life described it at first, this is harmful. Quran explains in other words that is the satanic interpretation of harm. In fact, in creation, there is no harm that the Creator is really aiming at. Your Creator, whatever creates, because He created you just as a result of mercy. There was no reason that you should exist Only the will of Creator give you the existence, give you existence. That is why you exist. So the one who gave you existence in this world and the one who had you as his guest in this world, without asking you, he willed it to be so. And why should he harm? No, if you think that, if whatever is created is harm for you, that is a satanic interpretation. So, satanic interpretation in the Quranic context means has no reality, doesn't represent any reality. This is a big problem. That is why Torah has a problem with interpreting and understanding this matter. Why? Since it is not, for example, we will see that this harm is physical harm, described in the Quran as well as physical harm, a bodily harm. Ah, do we say that it is not harmful? But I think we are going into a very serious subject here. We have to go first. Now we will talk about it far too. How do we apply it in Quranic context through learning the history of when it was revealed or connected to personal experience or something else? No, you cannot. Spiritual educations cannot be learned through going the history of it. The Quran is not an history book. Quran teaches us, but historical context is needed, as we mentioned at the uh, beginning of today's discussion. The historical context is needed to understand and apply the jurisprudential matters, Sharia matters, which is also called fiqh matters, related to practical social relationship and also prescribed prayers. That is where these experts know it, and they put it in its historical context as they all happened in the life of the Prophet Muhammad, and we have the narrations about this and seriously scrutinized by the scholars. So that is another subject. Spiritual, moral belief, education, interpretation of understanding of the existence, etc., cannot be understood in historical context because it's very simple. Who knows where Job lived? Where he is? None of my business. This is my example. Prophetic narrations are mostly for our personal experiences and spiritual moral education purpose. Thank you for asking the very, very practical reason that question that everybody really asks this. No, it is very much common among people saying that can we deny the reality of physical reality of this event? No, we don't. Why should we? But we are not going into details what happened, in which society, what age it was, the year, none of my business, who the job was. No, a figure presented to me in the form of a prophet, which is the best example. And that is experienced in his life, but the Quran narrates it to me because it is related to my life right now, right now. So I have to understand it within my own living conditions right now and right here. So I don't go to the historical side of it, and there is no need. with the exception uh, fiqh rules or these physical practices. What to do, for example, how to fast, when to fast. These kind of things need to be understood within the context they were revealed, and that expertise belonged to fiqh experts, scholars, not for us. Now, what we see that Quran is explaining now, this is important, very important. The creation of something, I think we have to be very careful about this point, all of us. Creation of something, the wisdom, the will of God, who decides to create something, is completely different from my physical relationship with it. For example, illness, death, creation of illness, which is very much related to our subject, creation of death, to the which is the problem of everyone. I am the first candidate for it now. Death is directly the result of the Creator's mercy to teach me, to help me understand the purpose of my existence and practice it spiritually. But my relationship, physical relationship with what is created, for example, death, for example, illness. For example, as the Quran says, I seek refuge with you, O my Creator, from what you created harmful for me, which is teaching me when I create something to you which is harmful, physically harmful to you, seek refuge with me, remember me, and think that this creation is definitely merciful creation for me by my God, and try to understand it, seek refuge with me, and physically try to avoid it from it. Try to avoid from it. While you are trying to cure your illness, for example, you shouldn't criticize the Creator, but try to understand what is the wisdom in its creation. My Creator has created me with this matter together with this illness, and he must be trying to teach me something. Uh, he must be trying to teach me something which I need. But it doesn't mean that I shouldn't go to doctor. I shouldn't see the ways of solution, curing it. No, while I am doing all this, for example, I felt something and, oh, that is not really likable for me. I don't like it to be in this way. And the sense of disliking is given to me by my Creator. Creator, now that seems to be problematic, where Torah cannot solve, couldn't solve. Now, it seems to be harmful for me, but creating something to be harmful, to look harmful, to seem harmful, God is being merciful to me. What? Which kind of? It is really, how do they say, compassionate killing or killing, something like, no. That is how we should understand the Quran by comparing these two verses that we are talking about. How we should understand the Quran. This one, sorry, up. Yeah, yeah, this one, these two. We should understand this. Uh, Quran says this is harmful for you. Yeah, but understand your creator, rahimin, you are the most merciful and most, no, you are the most merciful of the merciful. No, it is harmful for me, but you are the most merciful as the creator of it. Let me understand the mercy in the existence of this illness, which helps me to understand you are trying to teach me something in order to be successful in my existence, so that I will deserve infinite compensation for my understanding. Like the teacher gives you a test. In the test, you start sweating to answer the test. But you and having the problem yourself, having the problem in answering the questions is harmful. Why not sit and enjoy yourself? Why are you sweating to answer the best question, to answer the question in the best way? But as far as the teacher is concerned, to give you a test is a merciful action to teach you how really you should study, how you should learn through trying to answer the test. You are learning something new so that your education will be perfected. Wow. From my perspective, it is something I don't like. From teacher's perspective, he loves it. Why? He is the teacher. He wants to teach you. As you learn more, he enjoys his teaching more. That is just an analogy. So we have to make the distinction between the intention in the creation of something, which is the intention of God, and now we have to make the distinction now. That is God's side teaching me what the reality of my existence is. From my side, while I am trying to get rid of this illness, I am learning I am a created being, I am needy, I cannot really preserve my life, I cannot sustain my existence by myself. You see, I have been very arrogant saying that I can do this and I'm healthy. No, you see, that was the wrong claim. You are very strong. Not you are strong. You are created strong. You are healthy. You were when you are ill. You were healthy. No, you were not healthy. You were created healthy. Now you are learning the value of health. And you are learning that you are needy, not only value of wealth, health, you are needy, dependent in your all aspects of your existence. So that is why you are created here, to learn who you are, so that you will acknowledge who your owner, Lord, Creator is. That is the training place. That is the training place, this word, education place. That is why in the second sentence said, if you describe this illness as wrong, it shouldn't happen. This is a satanic understanding of the distress or harm. That is something wrong. Whereas here, the first verse, be careful. When we are reading the Quran, we just say, oh, it says so. No, not that simple. Be careful. When he called, I'm reading this one. When he called upon his Lord, saying, verily harm afflicted me. What does it mean? Prophet Job is speaking from his perspective because from as far as he is concerned, physical condition of his life is concerned, harm is afflicting him. So he says, that's my reality. Harm has afflicted me. And be careful, he's not saying Satan, because look at the verse, continues, and you are the most merciful of the merciful. Ah, by the way, I realize this creation is out of your mercy. That is why I don't see it as satanic point of view. From the satanic point of view, I don't see it from the satanic point of view saying that this is really hard. But in the second verse, we have to be very careful. And remember our servant Job, when he cried out to his Lord, Satan has afflicted me with distress and suffering. There is no, you are the most merciful of the merciful. Why? Because at first, from Job's perspective, it means from my perspective, from your perspective, you understand that that is something satanic understanding of this harm, this distress and suffering, and you are not remembering that this is created by a most merciful of the merciful. And in this verse, there's no most merciful of the merciful. And in this first verse, there is harm mentioned, but not Satan. Satanic perspective is mentioned because in the first verse, the Job is very much aware that the Creator is the most merciful of the merciful. Beyond imagination merciful, it means this most merciful of the merciful, as if there are other merciful things. No, his mercy is beyond imagination, incomparable with anything else. So that is how the Quran should be read. So we shouldn't just read one verse and say that, oh, that is what it says here. Lots of problems pops up in our minds. Well, there is a verse in the Quran which doesn't make sense to me. Now, how can I do this? How can I apply this? This typical verses like, oh, in the Quran, the the woman is treated as half of a man. Where is the context? What? There is a verse in this. Yeah, there is a verse in the sentence. Take the verse out of the context of the whole Quran and say, that is how it is in American context. Impossible. That is a mistreatment of the Quran. Or, in fact, mistreatment of every book. You are reading an, let's say, computer designing book, taking this one and applying into a medical book. Everybody laughs at you. Laughs. Said, what are you doing, man? This is something to do with mechanics or technical designing of machines. Nothing to do with medical book. Medical book is related to human body. Human body is not a machine. What are you talking about? So we understand when it is used in practical life, but when it comes to the Quranic, understanding the Quran, we take it one verse and put it in the context of completely another situation. So H. Beza wrote something. Let me read. Can we say the physical harm truly becomes genuine harm when we pass a false judgment on it and claim that there is no good in its existence for me? Yeah, if we don't see the creator's perspective, definitely it hurts what we are going to study. It hurts my body at the same time and hurts my spirit. Yeah, my human value. Definitely. Very good point. Thank you. So we should always bear in mind whatever happens in my life, whatever happens in my life, I have to first have my reaction. Good, love it, hug it, embrace it. Bad, reject it. But when you try to analyze why is it happening, remember it is an act of existence and creation, and this creation can only be done by the creator of the universe, and the creator of the universe is my creator, is my owner, is my host. Why my host? Took me in his place, the universe house, in his house, the universe, and now he is harming me. Come on. There's a contradiction because everything is meaningful in the universe. Everything is wisely designed, created, and everything is fully employed for a special purpose. And this creator is harming me. It is impossible not to have this, not to create this with no wisdom. Let me understand what is the wisdom. What my creator is aiming at teaching me something that I need to learn. So when you bring the creator into the equation, you understand my creator is giving me an opportunity to learn what my reality is, and I have to experience what he has created in order to understand what my reality really is. I am extremely sorry. I am extremely sorry. I just noticed that we are 15 minutes out of time. Please forgive me. I have to stop here. Inshallah, we will start from here, the explanation in detail. But today we talked about only how we should read and treat the verses of the Quran, the main principles as far as our subject is concerned. There are other many principles of reading the Quran. We mentioned only two of them. Two of them. One, any verse cannot be taken out of the context of the Quran teaching and analyzing it. Impossible. It will be logically wrong. Two, the interpretation of the verses within the other verses of the Quran, with the help of the other verses of the Quran, helps me understand better how I should benefit from any part of the Quran. Within itself, the Quran supports each other. Each verse supports each other. We study today only two principles so that we will be ready to read the rest of the text as a practical explanation of the verse, inshallah, following weeks. Euzubillahimineşşeytanirracim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Subhaneke la ilme lena illa ma allamtena inneke entel alimul hakim ve ahiru davana elhamdülillahi rabbil alemin bi hurmeti sirri suretil Fatiha.